A lot of folks are having a tough time in this economy, and it's hard to imagine anything that you could possibly do to help so many people. But our next guest argues that there is great power in individual actions, which means that you can make a big difference this holiday season. Here to explain is the author of The Butterfly Effect, former homeless man turned New York Times best-selling author Andy Andrews. Good to see you, Andy. Thanks very much for being here.
Oh, I'm honored, Rick. Thank you.
So tell us about The Butterfly Effect. What does that mean?
You know, The Butterfly Effect was a doctoral thesis written in '63 by Edward Lorenz, and it was laughed out of the New York Academy of Sciences because it was kind of crazy. But the theory was that a butterfly could flap its wings on one side of the planet and actually move molecules of air that eventually would somehow affect weather patterns on the other side of the world. But physicists have now proven the butterfly effect is accurate and viable. They've given it the status of a law. It's the law of sensitive dependence upon initial conditions, but it affects not just butterfly wings, but us, people, as well. Anything that moves, matter, and I've got a great story to tell you about a butterfly effect with human beings.
Go ahead, tell us.
All right. Norman Borlaug recently died, and this was a guy who was in all the news because he had calculated work and had hybridized corn and wheat for arid climates years ago in the 40s. And so his work, they calculated, had saved the lives of 2 billion people on our planet. So his life was celebrated. But it was really, you think about it, was it really him, or was it a guy named Henry Wallace, former Secretary of Agriculture, who was a Vice President of the United States in the 40s, and he started the station in Mexico to hybridize the corn and wheat and hired Norman Borlaug to run it. So you say, well, was it Henry Wallace that saved the 2 billion people? Well, when Henry Wallace was 6 years old, he was taken by a student at Iowa State University named George Washington Carver, and he took this little 6-year-old and put a love for plants in his mind and a vision about what they could do. So you say, well, maybe it was George Washington Carver, or maybe it was the vice president. But actually, it was a farmer from Diamond, Missouri, who years before lived in a slave state, didn't believe in slavery, but he had Quantrill's raiders came in and torched his farm and basically took off a lady and her baby. Well, this farmer took a black horse and made a trade with Quantrill's raiders. The mother was already dead, but he traded for that little baby boy and saved his life. And the farmer, Moses Carver, educated this boy and gave him his name. So
I think I see where you're going with this story, and it sounds almost like the George Bailey effect. One of my favorite holiday movies is It's a Wonderful Life. How one person's life can affect so many others, and that's really the message that you're trying to put across this holiday season.
Everything you do, everything you do today, there are generations yet unborn whose lives will be shifted and shaped by what you do today. Our little moves, the things we do and don't do, matter forever.
Well, I think that especially around the time of the holidays, people want to make a difference in the lives of others, and it's just a great message to, I think, sort of let people know that doing just a little bit can go a real long way. The new book, the latest book from this prolific New York Times best-selling author Andy Andrews, is called The Butterfly Effect. Merry Christmas to you, and thanks so much for spending a couple of minutes with us today, Andy.
Merry Christmas, Rick. Thank you.